Hi, this is Derek. Two things I just wanted to say before I start this review. One, fuck cancer. Two, I firmly believe, and I would hope that the makers behind this film believe, that The Fault in Our Stars should not serve as any kind of ambassador to those afflicted with cancer. Obviously, this is a disease that does not discriminate, it can affect anyone and everyone. Those we love, friends, family members, colleagues, coworkers, anybody. So any kind of individual story of anyone with cancer is as broad and varied as human stories itself, which is a thing that is unfortunate, and I hope we see the end of one day. But I wouldn't say, and I would hope that those behind this film agree that this isn't a representation of the template of what it's like to deal with cancer, because it's always a different story with every person. But anyway, on with the review. This is The Fault in Our Stars, obviously based off the immensely popular novel adapted into this film, which I saw recently, had some thoughts on, wanted to talk about it in a video review here. Uh, Essentially, I mean, the plot is fairly simple in terms of getting started. I mean, it stars Shailene Woodley as Hazel, and Ansel Elgort, I believe his name is, as Augustus, two cancer patients who meet each other at a cancer support group, and they begin a relationship. And it's all about that. So, I mean, really what it is, a romantic teen drama. Um, and I guess the only difference is, of course, that they both have cancer, which isn't a gimmick or anything like that, but it does make the story stand out in certain ways, and I'll definitely go into that a little bit with this review, hopefully. I mean, first things foremost, it obviously follows the type of conventions that we would see with these types of romantic teen dramas. It is not uh, so far above anything like that, so that must be made perfectly clear. Obviously, you have the meet cute, which is always a staple of these kinds of movies. They talk a little bit, flirt a little bit, and thus begins the relationship and things like that. So, it is very similar to things that we've seen in these types of movies, obviously. And of course, just like with any kind of romantic drama, particularly kind of like bordering on like a romantic comedy, it has like the little catchphrases that kind of stuffs down your throat. Like we've seen them all before. You complete me. Love is never having to say you're sorry. Ditto is a good one I like. So this one has sort of a similar line as Ditto. Okay, that's what they. Okay, okay. And what was it? I'm so happy for our little infinity. So things like that. It has like the catchphrases like that. Um, Obviously, of course, the actors here, Shailene Woodley and Ansel Elgort, gorgeous, gorgeous young actors. Obviously, of course, we couldn't expect anything less from that. Obviously, um, and yeah, I mean, like what you'd see with these types of romantic dramas, and I mean, I don't want to pigeonhole it or anything, but it is true in some sense, is that these types of movies, the romantic um, drama, romantic teen drama, I would say are made to be like a date movie, but more made to uh, be more uh, targeted towards women audiences. And I know that's not necessarily true, but that's kind of what we get the sense of, because of course, like with any type of movie like this, the male hero is just so wonderful. And so amazing, and it gets this girl out of her funk and makes her appreciate love and life and things like that. So we've seen that before, obviously, like Titanic, or The Notebook is obviously a very popular example. So Ryan Gosling is just glowing through the whole movie. So the same with Ansel Elgort. So I mean, just like with something like The Notebook, though, even though there's that, I mean, the acting is really good. It's really legit. Like, because I mean, with these types of movies, they really do have to sell it in a way that maybe they couldn't necessarily 20 years ago or so, uh, because it can't be too, I don't know, melodramatic or anything like that. It has to be true. It has to be legitimate in a certain way. So I think the two actors do a great job. Um, but yeah, I mean, we have all the kind of stuff that you'd see in these types of movies. It cheats a little bit. Like obviously there is a section of the film like it's really just about their relationship and them kind of dealing with their uh, kind of hesitations to begin it. Well, at least the Hazel character who's hesitant to begin the relationship. But Augustus Gus, obviously so wonderful and so in love with Hazel, he'll do anything to be with her basically. But so the movie's about that. But then there is this whole section of the movie where it does kind of cheat a little bit. That there's this kind of contrivance in the plot where um, Augustus has an inn with some richer folk who bring them to Amsterdam for this wonderful trip where there's limos, there's dinners, they're all paid for, wonderful things like that. And, of course, they finally kiss in the big scene where they embrace and kind of put the stamp on their relationship, and everyone around them claps. So great, so there's stuff like that. I mean, it's cheesy, but you almost have to expect things like that, so it cheats a little bit in that effect. But I don't know, it's there's a good way and bad way about these types of things, and I think it does it in a good way. I mean, you can have good sap, I think. You can have good schmaltz, and I think this is good in that respect that we've seen in a lot of romantic teen dramas and things like that. Not that I would consider myself an expert in those types of movies necessarily, though, I mean, they're good to watch every now and again, and the good ones do stand out, and I think this is one that does stand out. Because, I mean, the characters, they don't feel like they're assembly line type of characters. They do feel like they are these individual characters. So I mentioned about Augustus pulling Hazel out of her funk and things like that. But the thing is, they are self-defined characters, I think. So you'd look back to something like The Notebook, and you'd think, well, what are the traits of these characters? Other than they're madly in love with each other and there are obstacles in the way. I was thinking about that really hard, and I couldn't think of much, but I think these characters, Hazel and Gus, they are defined in a very uh, not overly thorough, but in a very satisfying way, I think. And so the thing is, I mean, with these characters, one thing to keep in mind, obviously, since it is a movie about, they obviously they have cancer, and it is something that's against, maybe other types of movies like this. It does incite more kind of existential conversations, talking about life, having these deeper conversations about their own mortality. So the fact that one of these movies would need to have the aspect of these characters with cancer, I mean, says a lot about the genre, but I don't think we should praise or damn the movie one way or another because of that. But it is something interesting. Like, you think about these movies, and they don't really have any interesting or deep conversations, do they, about life itself and things like that in general. Obviously, they talk about trivialities. Augustus likes his video games and things like that, but you feel like these are real characters. That's the important thing. And they are as real as those family members, as those friends, as those coworkers, colleagues that are affected with cancer. So they feel real. They come from a real place, which I think is important with this movie. And they discuss these things. And they discuss art. Like, a very, very important aspect of this movie is the Hazel character and her love for this book, An Imperial Affliction, which is something that she's read over and over and over again. Art is important to this character. And you think about another movie. Well, what was Sleepless in Seattle? Meg Ryan. What was her favorite book? I don't know. You know what I mean? But that actually does become a very key aspect to the movie, because other than their relationship, one of the interesting things about this movie is, that idolism complex that we tend to have. Everybody has it. So this character is just so obsessed with this author. Who has written her favorite book. She wants to know everything. She's corresponded with him. She's arranged a trip to meet him in Amsterdam. And so it's kind of one of those meet your hero stories where maybe the hero will disappoint you, which he does, and which becomes a very important aspect in the movie, and kind of one of the key points that kind of defines these two characters' relationships and how they react to it, and how they overcome this disappointment by kind of setting aside that disappointment and kind of focusing on what's important to them, and what's how they can decide to react to it, because that scene. Well, I'll give it away, and obviously, I mean, this will have spoilers. This review. The character, I can't remember the author's name now for the life of me, but he is played by Willem Dafoe, and I had no idea Willem Dafoe was in this movie, so it was kind of a cool surprise to see him, because he's one of my favorite actors. He's great, and we see like the correspondences between him and Hazel, and you wonder, wow, okay, so they're really gonna meet this character, and it comes this mysterious figure. She finally meets him, and like right off the bat, you're like, okay, who's this cranky old man wearing the tweed jacket and pajama bottoms, drinking whiskey or whatever, and it becomes this whole disappointing thing. But yeah, I mean, it has that aspect to it, meeting your heroes, and maybe it shouldn't be something that you do, but ultimately, I think it is a positive aspect for the characters, and it kind of makes their relationship stronger. And that's why in the very next scene, of course, that's when they're finally like, okay, let's get together, let's do this, let's have all the Amsterdamians clap for us as we kiss in the Anne Frank Museum, which is, I don't know, that's kind of like a unique movie moment. The big romantic kiss isn't at the top of a skyscraper or in the pouring rain. It's in the Anne Frank Museum. So I think that's kind of again, it is like the normal conventions as one of these romantic teen dramas, but it does it in a unique way, and I think that was a very interesting aspect to it, that they would have that standout moment, that key moment, the stand up and clap moment, in a sort of a different place, which I liked, and the characters are defined well. It's obviously with these two characters struggling with their disease, it's something that where, say, in other dramas like this, it kind of comes in the last act. Kind of comes as a way to close the story, but and it's always so vague. It's always like, what was it, like Love Story? Oh, she has lady cancer or something like that. I mean, as if in years prior they were shying away from showing that, but they have no intention of shying away here, and they are very specific about disease. I can't remember the names of their respective types of cancers, but it is something that is day to day with them. So it's not like Act 1, Act 2, great, Act 3, everything goes out the window, disease. No, it's something that understandably is a day to day thing with day to day obstacles that bring apart something as simple as walking up a flight of stairs, something as simple as going out for a walk. So that's something to keep in mind. And it is kind of a weird thing that, it would take something like having to write the characters with cancer to inspire something more than just pure banality of characters in these types of romantic dramas. So it is something unique in that sense. But I mean, at the same time, it forces it to be more than bubblegum, But like, why would cancer be such a four-letter word in these kinds of movies? Why can't we let something very real like this into our escapism? So that's something to I think consider about this movie, and it is somewhat similar to something like, say, 50-50, with Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Seth Rogen, because what that was essentially, that was like a buddy comedy. It was like the Judd Apatow kind of buddy comedy, except something very real entered these characters' lives that forced to test their friendship. So why can't we have these likable characters? And why can't we have these types of conventions? And why can't we have something that's a little more real to it? That's not a gimmick. That's not an act closer. So I think that's interesting about the movie. So I think it does it in a fair way. I don't feel, at least in that respect, that it cheats in any way. Um, I think it is a genuine kind of movie. I think it really helps define the characters, and the characters are defined beyond their love for each other. The characters are defined beyond their medical afflictions. So I think there's a lot of ways that this movie could have gone wrong that it sidesteps quite brilliantly without even thinking about it. Because the whole time you're thinking, oh, okay, I'm watching this nice romantic drama. So I think it deserves a lot of credit um, in that respect. Obviously, the movie is not perfect. It does have the cheats. It does have some moments that you'll think, yeah, this is a little cheesy. This is a little over the top. This is obviously the sweet moment that I'm supposed to cry. Things like that. And God help me. So sometimes it works. So again, I do think that there is a real distinction between how to do it well and how to not do it so well, to do it where it feels forced. I don't think it feels too forced. So there are moments where it goes close. It flirts closely with being a little over melodramatic, but the thing is, why should we restrict themes like this to like wrenching dramas, like the Oscar dramas? So this is a movie that it is reaffirming, and you'll feel good about life, and you'll feel good about the characters, and you'll feel happy about the love, the little infinity that they have. There is a truth to it, schmaltz, which I think it's such a delicate balancing act that they're able to pull off with that, not go overly cheesy. So I do admire the movie in that respect. Again, there are some cheats. Again, sometimes, yeah, it feels a little cheesy. The movie is not perfect. It has many flaws. But the fault, dear Brutus, lies not in our stars, but in the Hollywood machine, doesn't it? I would rate The Fault in Our Stars 3.5 stars out of 4. I think it's a wonderful and charming movie, and I think it is genuinely moving. So I really liked it. As far as, the romantic dramas, teen dramas go, I think this is the highest pinnacle of them. And it's not because of this gimmick, this switch on it that they have cancer. I think that is besides the point. I think the characters are really good, and I think it is everything you would expect in one of these dramas, one of these romantic teen dramas, but done right, done really right, and done in a way that took a lot of skill from those involved. So I liked it, and I know maybe it's not everybody's cup of tea. I think maybe some will classify it as a chick flick, and I think some people will want to avoid it just because, it's, it is classified as a tearjerker. When you walk into this movie, or when you turn this movie on, you know that the movie will want you to cry, so you can either go with that or go against it. So what can I tell you? But I think it is higher than average. I think it's a lot better than average. I think it's a special movie, and I think it is genuinely moving in what it sets out to do. And I really felt the love between these two characters, and I think it's going to be one of those movies where it will last forever in kind of the pop culture consciousness. I think it's going to be one of those classics. I think it's going to last. So it's definitely something that watch at your own risk. If you don't like these kinds of movies, trust me, it's not so far different that you're going to find yourself enjoying it. So if you don't like the boy meets girl, the cutesy kind of drama that kind of goes its way like that, probably want to avoid it. At least, there's no fucking love triangle in this movie, but the characters are true, and the characters are endearing. And I think about Hazel and Augustus's Little Infinity, and I I feel moved by it. So I don't know. I think it's a good movie, and I think it's worth checking out if it sounds like something that could be for you. But here I am rambling on for 20 minutes or so. So that'll be my review of The Fault in Our Stars. Really like it. Give it a thumbs up, 3.5 stars. Let me know what you think below. Comment, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. At Hi, this is Derek. Twitter, Derek237. Instagram, Derek237.tumblr.com is the Tumblr. And youtube.com to /hi this is Derek237 is, wow, I don't know my own URL URL, unified resource link. Anyway, if you're still watching, have a great day. Wow, this didn't end well. Anyway, see you later.